3 months ago, the Deepwater Horizon oil rig exploded off our coast. And as soon as I saw the first oil slick, I knew that our economy, and particularly our small business owners and our very way of life in Northwest Florida, was going to be at risk. And I got to work immediately for our small business owners, our Gulf Coast residents, and for our local governments. I urged them to prepare for the worst, to be sure that they were putting all of their documentation together, and I began to push the state and the federal government to do everything in their power to protect our Florida economy. From the very beginning, I understood the challenge that we're facing our small business owners and our local governments. From my experience in the private sector, I know what it takes to meet a payroll, to pay your suppliers, and to make your mortgage payment on time every month. But unfortunately, so many of those just common sense solutions that I saw that would have helped insulate our small businesses from the worst of this disaster was really falling on deaf ears. BP, and sometimes the state and the federal government, just didn't get it. Over the course of the last 3 months, some of the initiatives that I have begun pushing for after hearing directly and firsthand from the people of Northwest Florida are finally in place and have begun to help. Programs like initiating the Florida Small Business Emergency Loan Program that can provide up to $25,000 in immediate cash to small businesses, or the Small Business Administration, who activated the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, has also provided much-needed cash to small businesses, up to $2 million. And finally, the federal government took over, or is in the process of taking over, BP's disastrous lost income claims process. Yesterday, I did have the opportunity to talk to Ken Feinberg, who is the new claims administrator appointed by President Obama. He's going to be overseeing the $20 billion fund that BP was forced to create. And I told Mr. Feinberg what I'm hearing from small businesses and owners who are having to fight the bureaucracy to survive. And a little bit later this morning, you'll hear from one of those small business owners who just told me that it's been 90 days, not a single check has been written to restore his lost income, even now. Mr. Feinberg is going to roll out a new way of compensating affected business owners and residents by, he said, the first or the second week in August. At my suggestion, Florida was able to secure modest advertising dollars from BP, which helped encourage visitors to continue their plans for vacations over the Memorial Day weekend and also most recently over the July the 4th weekend. But these efforts haven't been enough. The disaster's too large and it's too overwhelming for our small business owners and residents to rely solely on just a better claims process or more accountability and transparency. Our economy needs speedy and immediate measures to boost tourism in Northwest Florida, or the taxpayers are going to be left with a decades-long bill from businesses that are going bankrupt and residents that may leave and never be able to afford to come back. I guess, as I've said in the past, I have a little bit of a different definition of the word speed. Instead of action, the tone-deaf Florida Legislature has been twiddling their thumbs. It was only after the governor called for a special session that I asked for months ago, that some of them started to pay attention. Senator Gates did have a hearing just last week in Pensacola, but it seems like many of the legislators are paying attention for the wrong reasons. Today at noon, I expect to see the culmination of years of the complete failure of the Florida Legislature to be in tune with what's going on in the real world of Florida. In the same chamber where House Republicans shoved through a proposal in just a few days to open state waters to oil drilling, those same Republicans will stand at their desk to claim that they don't have enough time. They don't have enough time for small business owners in Northwest Florida. They don't have enough time for the oysterman or the bait tackle shop owner or the countless other working class folks that call Northwest Florida home. Shame. For over a month, I've been calling for incentives that only the Florida Legislature can enact that would help save our economy and boost tourism. More than a week ago, when I realized that the Senate President and the House Speaker hadn't filed a single bill that would help our small business owners, I took action. I wrote a letter that, no surprise, hasn't received any response, and I called for changes in the law to cover recovery of the economic damages suffered by businesses and homeowners and local and state governments resulting in major disasters. I called for changes in the law that would allow for speedier claims fulfillment with plain language forms and requirements for a 15-day turnaround time. Property tax rebates for businesses and residential property owners whose property values have fallen because of the oil spill. Directing available government resources to job training and retraining. Asking for short and long-term economic development efforts by the Office of Trade, Tourism, and Economic Development, and also strategic plans from Enterprise Florida, and the creation of an independently managed Florida Environmental Endowment Fund that could be funded by BP grants or future litigation settlements to provide resources for the study of Florida's longer-term aquatic environment. These are the types of actions that put money directly into the pockets of our residents and business people who have experienced losses through no fault of their own. Floridians have already suffered for 3 months. They shouldn't have to wait another 2 months for relief that our legislature could provide now.